Halsey Atkins, and I became a member of the Washoe County Bar right after I was admitted on December 7, day in infamy, 1966. Now the Washoe County Bar, its makeup and its the number of people that belonged was a lot different then than it is now. When I came, there were only 2 women who were here practicing, and they had been practicing a long time. So everybody was looking at me. And I have to tell you a Washoe County Bar story. I'd been in practice about 2.5 years, and the president of the Washoe County Bar sent a letter out to all the members saying that they were going to have a stag party, and they were going to go to the golf course and play golf, and then they were going to party in the 19th hole or whatever. So I kind of stomped around there a little bit, that they said it was going to be a stag party, and one or all of the attorneys must have told him about it. So I get this letter, and dear Phyllis, we didn't mean when we said stag that we meant all men. We just meant without spouses. But you could bring several girlfriends. Well, I was about 7 months pregnant at the time, and so I wasn't doing much golfing either. The pregnancy sort of stood me in fairly good stead on something that I didn't want to do. We didn't have a public defender, either in the county or the state courts or in the federal courts. So everybody just got appointed. The judges would pick out somebody, and you'd get appointed on it. Well, there was a criminal case that interested the bar, and people would go over and sit in the audience and would tell them, or would hear it, and I got a chance to go over and hear the closing arguments. And I thought that the defendant's lawyer just did such a beautiful job. I was so impressed and wondered if I'd ever be able to present anything like he did. Even though he was so good, representing his client, he lost the case, which is not an uncommon thing when you're representing a defendant in a criminal case. But about that time, they did create the office of the public defender, and he got the job. So not very long after that, I got this letter from the Supreme Court in Carson City, and they informed me that now that there's a public defender, you still have to have lawyers that will take the cases to appeal if it's something that the public defender can't do. And they are going strictly down the alphabet, and at that time my A, Atkins, was the first one past the DA's principal prosecutor, and lo and behold, it was that case. I didn't want it. I didn't want to have to do it, but I looked at it. They gave me the scheduling, and I called the clerk and said, hey, my baby's due just about the time those briefs are due, and we'll probably have to put it over or something. And she said, oh my. The justices said, no way, there are no excuses, these will go in order. So she said, you'll have to talk to Justice Collins, who was the Chief Justice. And he took my call. I thought that was kind of neat. And I explained the situation, and he said, No, I told them absolutely no excuses, but you know, it never occurred to us that a lawyer would be pregnant. So I said, I'll put you at the end, and when it comes up again, then we'll call you. And I'm still waiting. Another small little thing on that pregnancy, I was in the elevator with one of the judges, and he commented about how nice that I was going to have a baby, and he was wondering when I was going to quit my practice. And I said that I didn't intend to quit. I just take a little time off, you know. And he said, well, I never thought that women belonged in the courtroom, you know. But he always treated me fine, and about 11 years after that, when I told him that I was taking the job as a magistrate, U.S. magistrate, he complimented me and wished me luck and told me he thought I was going to do a really good job. So, you know, things changed a little bit. Now then, instead of me being like the first one, I have to be on the 5th page of the A's in the bar book. And there's well over 300 women now here, and I'll bet at least 200 of them have been pregnant while they're practicing. But it was a real novelty when I was here. The story my husband wants me to tell you is the job, when I took the magistrate judge's job, it was supposed to be half-time, and I would continue with my practice. Of course, it wasn't really half-time, it was half-pay, but as soon as they got the word that they could swear me in, I went over and was sworn in, but I said I couldn't start because I was in trial in the state court. Couldn't start till after the long weekend that was just about to come up. So I got this call, when I was in trial, somebody came and brought me this note and said that I have to call over there at the court. Well, it turned out that they really needed me for an initial appearance. My predecessor had passed away many months before that, and so they really needed a magistrate. And I get over there, and it turns out that the guy ran a red light, or I think it was a stop sign in Fallon, and he got caught, and they checked it. He was traveling with his wife and children, and they checked it and found that there was an 8-year-old warrant out of Texas. So they brought him to me. It was a federal warrant. And I had told my secretary that I probably wouldn't be turning people loose on their OR for a little while till I kind of got the feel of how things were going. But here we are on Friday, and it's a long weekend, and they couldn't get a hold of Texas about whether or not they wanted to keep him. So, or wanted us to keep him and, you know, send him down there. So he was in the courtroom, and I asked him, here he was, they were just traveling through on their way to Texas, as a matter of fact, and he needed to be back on Tuesday. So I asked him would you be back? Would you come back? And he says, well, I suppose I will. I suppose you're going to put me in your jail. I said, well, I'm trying not to have to put you in my jail, but you have to show up on Tuesday. You know, can you and your family stay here now over the long weekend? And he says, Your Honor, I know you've heard this 1,000 times, but I promise you that I'll be there. And my clerk and I tried not to smile too big since it was my very first case. The U.S. attorney said, I'm sure that he won't show, but then Texas won't want him. But he did show, and we couldn't get a hold of Texas. 3 weeks later, Texas called and said, send the guy down. Well, I said he went to Texas, you know.
Good evening. It's nice to be here, even by television, and I hope I'm